Okay, I implemented the Mandelbrot 2D shader that I have in the lower left here. My Mandelbulb is the 3D main viewport, and I want to now map my fractal to the surface. So let's do that first. I'm outputting my fractal render to a render texture. This is real time. See by zooming in, zooming out here. I have it on top of a color wheel texture, just visualize for a second. I'll show you why in a second. Alright, so if I go to my Mandelbulb, I want to make the albedo map my Mandelbrot render texture. Alright, so now we have that on the surface, and as you can see with my little Mandelbrot Explorer, I can still move it in real time. So let's get something more interesting there for the Mandelbrot. Let's go up to my standard surface textures and start with one of those. Let's see which one. Let's grab this one for right now. That one or that one? Do this one. Now going down here close to the surface so I can see both here, and now using the Mandelbulb Explorer, I want to zoom in to one of these little fingers. And to show you a few things on the Mandelbulb, the max iterations can adjust the complexity of the Mandelbrot render. And then for coloring, you can set how often the colors repeat and at what speed they repeat, like how many bands do you want, and then how fast you want that going. So just a few bands, and let's change the speed. Alright, so now we've got the surface rendering, and I want to make the 2D surfacing look 3D-ish. And the way we normally do that is with a normal map, and normal map provides lighting information so that as lights move around from different sides, like if this had dimensionality to it, it would light up on one side versus the other, and you can see the light moving around. So I created another shader to fake a normal map. I don't have any 3D data to create a real normal map. It's a vector pointing upward from the surface at perpendicular to the surface. So to estimate that, there's some tricks in 2D that we can do, and let's see, let me show that. Back up from the surface a little bit so you can see it. Alright, so you can see the outline of some of the geometry and the texture here, and it's really, really light. So let's play around with choosing a different Mandelbrot, see if we can get a better normal map on some of these. I need to play around with the normal map shader code because blue surfaces, for example, get washed out because red and green are what normal maps use for the light direction. So without any real red or blue info to go with, it's hard to make a fake normal. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and stay with where we were and see if I can just make that normal a little bit better. So which one was it? It was specular. Yeah, that one. Alright, so looking at my normal shader, I have a noise strength. And notice if I go too high with it, then I lose the crispness of that detail because it's spreading out that detail. Almost looks like a 3D glasses image. So let's put it about strong but not blurring out the edges of everything. So I'll leave it about right there at 3.6, then I'll go back to my surface and take my normal render texture, drop it into normal, and as you can see, no normal, and bringing out that detail on the surface. So the next thing that I ran into is seams. So because I'm procedurally generating my texture, obviously it's not going to tile perfectly, and that was where most of the mind screw came in on trying to figure out how to use this for surfacing the surfacing a 3D Mandelbrot with a 2D, no, surfacing a 3D Mandelbulb with a 2D Mandelbrot. There we go, said it right. Alright, let's leave that white. So now that we got the normal set up, this the seams here where it tiles, you can see a lot of different seams here. To get rid of that, I added a symmetry mode in the Friktal Explorer. So with the Friktal Explorer, let's get this to zoom in or out that we like. It gives a lot of variation of the surface. And then the symmetry, as I shift it around, as I approach 1 exactly, no more seams. The only thing I don't like about doing it this way, I might look for a different technique, but if you notice by doing it this way, you basically got only a quarter of whatever resolution you're running at as being useful pixels, and then the rest of them are mirrored in some fashion. It's like as if you took this 1/4 box here that I'm outlining with my mouse, and then you moved that over here, and then moved that over here, and then moved that over here. So you're seeing the same shapes and patterns 4 times. So it makes it much more easy to notice that it's tiling, is what I'm trying to say. Even though you're not seeing seams of where it joins together, if you zoom out far enough, you'll start seeing the pattern of it all. What my eye grabs is this row, this row, this row, this row, this row. But that's where I'm at right now. Might look into some other techniques of trying to figure out how to mirror without losing 3/4 of the pixel grid here for my render. The next thing I added is well, I know some have seen the Game of Life before rendering. So this is Conway's Game of Life. And if you're not familiar, it's cellular automata, a very simple rule set. If 3 or more pixels surround an alive pixel, then it generates another birth of a pixel. If there's not enough food around, it dies. And to keep the sim running forever, I am randomly adding some noise. You can see some right here in this area, well, kind of scattered all over, but just one little pixel here and there. And if one pixel isn't adjacent to something else, it'll die. So that's why they're coming on as like snow and noise in here. But I did that because eventually the simulation will kind of die out if there's not new life being added into it. I'll play around with getting stable ecosystems later, but for right now it's at least rendering the rule set so I can use it. And again, all 3 of these are outputting via GPU shaders to render textures, so then I can use the render texture on 3D surfaces. The ray-marched 3D surfaces, which big distinction there. Like, very different trying to use textures on a ray-marched surface than a 3D rasterized triangle surface. Alright, so let's take a look at the life sim. And what I wanted to do is a little bit of an experiment. I'm not sure how I like it, but we'll see what you think. I wanted to put life as if it is bioluminescent and you can only see it in the dark areas. So that would be like this shadow right here. And one way that I can achieve that is with emission lighting set to only emit if the pixel would have been black otherwise, or in shadow otherwise, under a certain value. So that's the way I've set up my emission top here. Oh, I forgot about specular gloss top. I should add that real quick while I'm at it before I move on. That is going to be this file. Add it there. There we go. And what that'll allow is the light to hit reflections a little harsher off of the side. I've got color lights kind of just randomly going around right now, so if you want it to reflect off certain parts of the surface, then you can use an image for that. I haven't created a shader yet, but I think I will create a shader that will render my spec gloss to black and white. Because I'm kind of using a black and white input image, it works fairly well. Like if you look at this, it looks like we're getting some reflections coming in on these surfaces as if it's rippling water. And that's what a spec gloss will allow you to do, is have areas of your texture that are reflective at angles and areas of your texture that are not. So no reflections, pretty high to the point of getting noisy. And eventually it'll get so noisy it just looks like a bunch of little light pixels. So probably usable areas around before you start getting into really harsh edge pixels like that. Alright, so back to the emission for the life. If I take my render texture and add that to emissive, now we can see in all of our shadow we have the game of life running. And if I look at the mapping on it, let's had it tiled a little bit high. Tell you what, let's just do 1:1 to see what it looks like so far. And now you can see any place there's shadow in the game, you'll be able to see some of the life. And as the lights move around to the shadows, of course, shift with the lights. So I'm not sure if I like it as a effect in the shadow. Obviously, it's too big rendered at 1:1, but like a 2:1 or 3:1, it's a little less jarring if you get up close to a surface. Yeah, I'm really happy now that I've added both to the seeing the life and the animated fractals. I'm happy to say that the surfaces feel much more alive. Anyway, that's it for now.